What's going on, my good people? Welcome to another episode of Hold Up and Another Thing, presented by Mixed Vibes Media. You already know the vibes. I am your boy, Mr. Bell. I am back here with another guest, an interview guest that he owns a business. He flips mobile homes, but he also has an incredible love story. So we definitely gonna get into both aspects of that. But Mr. Adrian, how you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Appreciate you having me here.
Hey, I'm glad to have you here. I appreciate you taking the time. Reached out on the Facebook. I need a guest, and like I said, your story, your love story, is in that what's got my attention the most. But so let's start there. We're gonna get to the business. Definitely gonna get to the business. Talk about the flipping of mobile homes, especially the catchy title. We definitely got to show that shirt at some point because definitely catchy title, catchy name, the buying name or whatnot. But let's just tell us. Let's give the basics of your love story with your, I guess now ex-wife.
Well, yeah, so my ex-wife, girlfriend, we'll get to that part of the story, whichever side you want to call her. We are together now, so it's going to be a happy ending. But we met pretty young. She was 19. That means I was about 25, and we ended up as a couple. And realizing now there's no like formal training that you have to go through to go like become a couple and then get married. You just go and say I do,
Right.
and and then our guy ego is also a little bit like, I don't need that stuff. But things work good. They really were. We traveled great together. We get along great. Everything is good. And then there were some rocky times, and I probably resisted a little bit more than her at first to do some of the relationship skills, like the four love languages. That's a pretty common one that a lot of people have heard about. And I was like, I don't need that.
Yep.
And then I realized, okay, yeah, I actually do need that. And now I'm a nerd on the topic. But, we just fast forward and the relationship became almost feeling like roommates at times. And I've heard other people say that. Now I can be like, oh, yeah, I know exactly what that is like. And we didn't, it's that slow, tiny thing that happens every day. And then all of a sudden you're just like, wait a second, this isn't how I was or she was when we got together. I don't know if you want to keep me going in that direction or pause there.
Well, hey, we can just keep going. Let's go back to the beginning. What was it that made you attracted to her? That made you
Well,
fall?
she's a beautiful lady, personality. She's a very good spirited. She has the right morals and ethics. You hear that when someone talks, but for me, there's a feeling as well. You can just feel when someone is going to do the right thing.
Right.
I've learned I'm more of a feel person, and we've learned that she's more of a like, well, here's the facts,
Gotcha.
which can make things difficult, but it also is a really good, combination because I can feel in something, and she can actually give me facts of why I feel that way. But things just felt good with her. Again, I'm a feel person, so I can't put into words exactly. It just felt right.
It felt right. It felt like that where we were supposed to be. But like you said, you got to the point where y'all felt like y'all was just roommates.
Mm-hmm.
Was it, you think, just bad timing, or was it not communicating? What makes you think y'all got to the point to where y'all felt like y'all was just roommates?
I think it was a ton of really tiny things over and over and over again. So I'll give you an example of I would say, she's like, oh, are you coming to watch TV? Are you coming to dinner or whatever it is? And I'd be in my office working. I'm like, yeah, give me 10 minutes. And that'd be at 6 o'clock. And then at 8 o'clock, I'd realize, oh, wait, because I was in something else I love, but I
Yeah.
just get lost and I wasn't good with my time. And then she's like, oh, I don't feel like watching anything anymore. Of course she didn't. That was really a lie. I didn't mean it that way.
Right.
Uh, and that's not one item. I've never gone back and I'll say journal or write on it, but I would guess there's thousands of those on both sides that happened tiny bit and it just chips away tiny bit at the relationship. And then if things aren't great, you gravitate to something in life that is fulfilling and it is great. And for me, it was business. And then for her, she's an RN. So it ended up being like the RN world.
Oh,
And you don't even realize you're doing that, but you're gravitating to something that feels good. And
yeah.
then you're really not showing the love and affection, which makes the thing even worse. And you separate a little bit more. And then eventually you realize we feel like roommates. And that wasn't every day, but
Right.
the overall feel was that way. It was weird, man.
What? So pausing your story, let me ask you this, because you have lived it and you came through it. What would be the advice you would give to someone that was in that situation?
It's advice I was given then, but didn't listen to it.
The first thing is
um,
listen to this. That would be the first piece of advice.
yeah,
Listen
I mean,
to what is about to be said.
I'm a very big Tony Robbins fan,
Okay.
and I was before we even had, I'll say, any relationship challenges, and I still am today. And he says a few things that I believe are really true. I would have said I was doing them in the moment, but looking back, I wasn't. Treating each other like you did when you were first together, like, you're courting each other, and you're in love and you really want to win that person over. Don't let that honeymoon phase time stop.
Never stop courting. That's the advice I always
Yeah,
never, never stop.
and as corny and silly as it sounds, but it's like when she says, hey, will you take out the trash? Well, eventually, like, no, I don't want to take out the trash. But at the beginning, you're like, yeah, I'll take out the trash. I'm happy to do something for you.
Mhm.
And it seems so silly, but it's just one of those little tiny little chipaways that add up. And that example is really big for us because her love language is acts of service. So then I'm saying no to an acts of service, her love language.
Right.
So I think that's probably one of the biggest things. You have to keep a surprise factor as well, because yeah, taking out the trash does get a little mundane on both sides, no matter what it is. You can only
Yeah.
take it out so many different ways. So keeping a little bit of that surprise factor up. And I am more of an uncertainty, like surprises and doing different weird things and not having a plan. And she's more certainty, wants a plan. And that's not all the time. But so I still need to keep some type of element of surprise up, because that's what the beginning of a
That was work.
relationship really is,
Yeah. That's what
without
works.
stressing her out either and putting her
Yeah.
too uncomfortable.
Let's say you got to kind of find the balance for each of you all to make it work. Because at the end of the day, a relationship is about both of us being happy.
Yeah, and something that just came to mind, I think really what I'm explaining here is being a student of your partner.
That is a
I
great way to place it.
I spent a lot of time self-improvement for myself, but I also spent a lot of time studying her and her personality. I'm a personality test junkie. I just did another one today. And I love it because it helps me understand who I am, not putting me in a box. That's why some people don't like them, is because it feels like it puts you in a box. No, it just helps me understand why I feel a way when something happens or when you say something. Well, the same thing's true. Well, if I can study her, then I understand why when I say something, she gets defensive, or why when I say something, she loves it. And that helps me speak in a different manner, because of course I want to say things in a way that she loves it, not takes it defensive, because we can say the same thing in both ways.
Right. Right. So back to your you all story. What was the separation like? What was the time apart? Was it a
Oof.
long, not to get meddling and all the deep in your business, but to get deep in your business? Was it a long time? Was it a lot of dating or finding different partners, or what was the situation like?
Man,
Not to the business, but to get in your business.
it is the most painful thing I've ever done.
Okay.
Um, I would have never said it then, but I definitely learned I was emotionally dependent. And I just, I had multiple people kind of point it out. One of my friends, mentors, I just hung out with him the other day. I'm like, Joe, why didn't you just tell me? He's like, you can't tell someone. You have to ask enough questions and help them realize it on themselves. And that's what happened. So it was really painful for me because I was emotionally tied.
Mhm.
And a little bit of it was also my identity. You kind of mentioned or alluded to like the my shirt.
Yeah.
So my originally buying brand, which is what it still is today, is my t-shirt says my wife buys mobile homes. And I wear this everywhere I go whenever I'm in town where I buy mobile homes. Well, this became my identity. I'm known across the country because of this bright yellow shirt, because I buy mobile homes. Well, if I'm no longer going to have a wife anymore, that compromises integrity, but that's my identity of who I am is I'm this guy that wears this shirt. So even going towards the business side to, like something that's going right in life, that was hard.
Right.
So that really hurt me back and forth. But anyway, kind of going, fully answer your question there is I believe both weren't giving when we were trying to work it out 100% at the same time. She was giving 100% and I wasn't. And then I was, and she was drained and tired, and she wasn't. And she kind of ended it, and I kind of ended it. We went back and forth, and then we finally realized we needed to.
Okay.
And that was over months. It wasn't like, irrational one day it's this and one day it's that. It was over months, and you know, really tried to work it out. And through that time, we did have a relationship coach, we were working together with and separate. We were both working with her, and that's what would help get things better. Um, and it was a hard time when, it was like, this just isn't going to work. And I don't regret any of that now because that was painful.
I was gonna ask you, do you regret any of it, or do you wish it could have been done differently? But go ahead.
I don't like to have regrets.
Okay.
And yes, I don't want pain on her or me, but we wouldn't be able to be happy together, and we are better people for each other, better people for ourselves, and better people for the world because of the pain and growth we went through. We wouldn't have done this hard growth if it wasn't for the pain.
True.
And I believe that in all parts of life, that maybe I like pain a little bit too much at times now. I'm also a big David Goggins fan. If anyone that follows him, he loves just beating his body down in pain. And I've learned that I get really good growth when I go through those hard times.
I think just as humans, it's got to be some type of pain or adversity, however you want to word it, to get over, to make our life better, to make us better, because that's how we grow.
Mm-hmm.
It's the way you get over stuff and go through stuff. Uh, it's the best way to do it. So y'all went through that hard time, but how did y'all find each other
We never stopped being friends.
again? Okay.
And that's one of the things that was difficult through it is we stayed friends and we were friends. We just weren't meant to be together at that time. And, so it was like I wanted to go and help my friend at times. I'm like, it's just not my role right now to be that close. So we never really separated as in communication.
Okay.
But we filed the divorce, and that was actually a pretty long process, partially because we drug our feet a little bit. We hired a really cheap company, and so you get what you pay for
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
there.
That's me. That's me.
And they took a long time. And when you look back in hindsight, that was all happening at the right speed, even though at times it was a frustrating speed because I kind of wanted to rip the band-aid off. But that was allowing the painful growth that was needed. And we, like that, we kept communication. And then she, at one point, said, "Hey, I want to talk about some things." Actually, I thought we were just going to be talking about, I was helping her understand some of her IRA stuff because I took care of more of that
Okay.
area, So we were logging in. I was explaining some different things in that manner. And then she's like, "I want to talk about other things." And she told me she wanted to try again. And I mean, I was excited, but I was also like, oh, I don't know. I'm the probably heavier emotional of the two.
What gave you
Usually
the
it's,
hesitation? What made you hesitant?
you know, I honestly didn't know if I was emotionally available.
Okay.
It was one of my friends kind of called me out saying that he didn't think I was, because I had gotten on some of those dating sites and stuff, which, oh, I'm glad I'm not in that world. Uh,
It's a scary world. Trust me, I know. Trust me, I know. It's the dating
yeah, and
place is a scary world.
and that's what I was just like drained of even like scrolling and looking at all. My brain's like, man, you just might not be emotionally available. I was like, I think you're right. So then when she said that, I was like, I don't know. I had just really got myself to a really good state,
Okay.
and alone, not emotionally dependent on anyone or anything. And so, anyways, I said, yeah, you know what? Let me process all this. And I spent some time processing it, and talked to some friends about it. Talked to the relationship coach, because I never stopped with her. I kept paying her, and I will pay Kathy the rest of my life. She is. I'm gonna go a little side tangent, because everything we're talking about is with my spouse and I, but it's really not any different than anyone else. My
Right.
communication with you, communication with my family, my brother, someone I just meet in the street, the telemarketer that calls me and I don't like it because they just called me. It's all a relationship. And all of these skills, I think, go across everything. Our spouse is just the one that we're with the most. And in most situations is our most important relationship,
Right.
or should be.
I was going to say that way in kids, it's a relationship with our spouse
Yes.
or our children, because those is that's the family we choose. As I always
Mhm.
like to say, not the one that we was blessed in. Don't get me wrong, the families that we were blessed to be a part of are important too, but those are the ones we choose.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so I'm not really sure where I was at. I lost track of where I was at in the story. I will say that, oh yeah, I think it was we I had all those conversations, and one of my good friends, Dave Peters, asked me a very important question. He said, "What would your 70-year-old self say to do?" And my immediate gut reaction was to get back together, because we had great times together. Like, we didn't
Yeah.
regret the times together. And I was also a little bit like, well, the worst case is it doesn't work out. I know we are going to have great times together until that time, because we did. So I was like, yeah. So then we got back together, and ironically, we started virtually dating about the exact time that the divorce was finalized and signed by the judge. Talking about some irony there, and you know,
What? Hell, really?
yep,
That makes the story even. That makes the story much better.
yep. And because I had it going to an email I don't check all the time,
Yeah.
and I didn't even see it at first, and I text her, because we were doing, like I said, she was in a different state, and we're doing some virtual dating, which is much easier than I thought. You can put puzzles together, and there's all kinds of games you can do now through Zoom and the different platforms, and things were good. And so yeah, I noticed it afterwards, and then I went out and saw her, and it was basically right away we were just together again. And yeah, we are still working on what that truly looks like, because we have a clean slate. We're
Right.
both all in, and I will say something that's very different now, that gives me a lot of faith, and I know it's going to work, is when there's a problem, we are both trying and putting effort in. In the past, I felt like one of us would kind of run or get in a shell or clam up and not try. But and this could be all in my eyes, because I can learn stuff now. I have a different filter on, and before,
Right.
maybe I had a negative filter. I didn't see her trying, which I know that was part of it. And then there was times that she probably just wasn't. And the same with me. There was times I just didn't try, and she probably also had a different blinders on at times, and she wouldn't see me trying even though I was. So it's on both sides of the perspective.
That's a good. I want to ask you a question about that. What advice would you, or what would you tell somebody about seeing the other person try? Is because sometimes we, like you said, we miss that. We don't see their efforts. We just see
Mm-hmm.
our efforts. And when they don't react to what we're doing, we feel it. We take it as if they're not trying or they're not attempting to make this work. My thought would be patience and like take a step back. But what advice would you or what would you say to to a person to say, hey, look at their efforts? How would you give them the advice to be able to look at their efforts?
We got two things on it. First one is expectations. I actually think expectations is one of the largest problems we have as humans because I might have a fully different expectation on how she's going to come home from work.
Okay.
And when she comes home tired, and I thought she's going to come home excited and happy, well, now that's going to throw me off. Or I'm going to be like, well, why are you so tired? Now that's going to be like pushing her back in a corner. So having an open expectations or being able to change them, not letting them like fully affect you. And that's one of the big ones I think is not just spouses, that's all over.
Yes.
And that's one of my biggest things that has separated me in the property management world. And I teach on the most is that's one of the biggest challenges with the housing provider and a resident lives there is the expectations. You can't set someone up to live in your property and follow all the rules and do everything the way you want if you don't give them the right expectations. It's just like you set people up for failure when you push a piece of paper over and said sign real quick. But they don't know they're signing.
Yeah,
so
they don't.
Anyway, that's a little tangent.
Nobody takes the time to read those things. So
and you don't. For us, we take an hour and a half and go through everything on Zoom. You can't sign it without reading it. We don't allow it because that just sets both sides up for failure.
That's I'm glad you do that. More should do that. More really should.
So it's just so you take these things and you start realizing how they're everywhere in life. I learned one little thing like set expectations. I started noticing it everywhere. Like, where do I expect something different? And where do you expect something different? If I would have shown up 10 minutes late, you would have been like, well, I expect you to be here at the time I said, hey, the login is and everything, and the time to record this. And I went, oh, well, everyone else is always late, so I just assumed you would be late. It's Saturday, like, why would, like, those are both expectations. And you can make the argument which one's right and which one's wrong, but it's right and real to me. Right. And it's right and real to you. And so that leads into the other piece I really want to say is kind of putting yourself in the other person's shoes. And a lot of these are like sayings that I heard, like that one's, always put yourself in the other person's shoes. And it annoys me because I ignored them. I just blew them off.
Because we've been hearing them for years and we don't really think it's a real thing until it's a real thing. Until you got to actually apply it.
Yeah. And, we can never fully put ourselves in someone's shoes because we haven't been through everything of their life. We weren't 2 years old in their household, and that affects our adulthood. So you have to kind of like, all right, well, if I yelled and screamed at you because you were upset that I was 10 minutes late to this interview, it could just be something that you were abused as a kid for being late and you're always on time.
Mm-hmm.
And I never, like, we just don't know. It's like just really trying to get in the other person's shoes and like, well, how could they be feeling because of the way I reacted or I said something? And I don't even know the original question anymore. I just got off on those two tangents of because
but you answered it. It's with the expectations and then putting yourself in other people's shoes. You might not forget the original question, but you did answer the question perfectly. You did answer the question perfectly. Before we get into the business, everything's happy with the relationship.
Yeah, man. We are in very intentional. If you would have actually, I think I kind of threw back the time that I could do it. The reason I'm doing this podcast at this time is because she's sleeping right now. If you would have said, hey, here's the time, and it was a time that we were supposed to be together, I would have said no. Years ago, I would have said yes and told her no. So she's the priority, and we're both making each other the priority, which again is why I think things are going really well. And as long as we continue that, they're going to continue going really well. So we are in a great place right now today.
You hit on something right there that is very, very important. Making people feel like they're a priority or making your priorities. We get so caught up in life in what we traditionally do, what we normally do, or what we think we need to be doing, or what's like you said, important to us, like your business, or for me with this podcasting, or whatever it can be. We get caught up with that. We put that stuff more important than our people that we need to be making.
And the cell phone thing, it's a love hate relationship we have with this thing. But
Yeah,
one of the really good things that came out of our struggles is I went to a Canyon Ranch. It's called like a retreat place. We won't get into all that. But I gave them my phone and said, don't give this back to me for a week. And I went a week without even my phone physically on me. And yeah, I wanted to get it back and catch up. But the other time I was like, oh, it was like dreading. Since then, my phone has been on do not disturb. We're coming up on 3 years of my phone on do not disturb 100% of the time. Do I lose some business? Yeah. Can certain people get through? Yes.
yeah,
Um, but I'm happier person and it helps me make a priority. If my phone was buzzing this whole time, you wouldn't have been a priority and you wouldn't have felt it, or any of the audience listening wouldn't have felt a priority. And so, and I have my phone, I have all the child stuff to limit how much time you can be on Facebook and all this stuff. I have all that on there
as an
because
adult, you
I
have
know
all
I'm
of that
not
on.
strong enough. It's, yeah,
But
man.
that shows how strong you are, that you are comfortable within yourself and know yourself, that you need to set those things. So
Yeah.
more, I commend you, because more of us should probably really do that. If we being honest, we spend so much time scrolling your TikToks, your Facebooks, or even some people, read news articles and all these other different things that we we just get stuck there, and that's all it is. We consistently looking down like this, looking at our
Mm-hmm.
phones. Don't know. We losing connections with people. That'll get me on the tangent, because we losing connections with people with phones. Technology is a great thing, but it's also we overutilize it. That's the problem. We overutilize it, and we put too much of a priority into it. And like I said, we don't put it into our people, the relationship that we need to build to grow and become better humans.
And well said. Yeah, man. That's exactly it. And it's not, to me, it's not realistic to just get rid of all technology.
Yeah.
That's just not the world we live in. I'm not trying to do that, but I want to set myself up for success by using technology in those ways,
Okay.
so that I can be as present as possible. And I fail days, and then it's like, all right, next morning, let me reset. So I'm a miracle morning guy. Hal Elrod, I love all the steps of that. And so affirmations are really big for me. Actually, incantations, Tony Robbins calls it, and meditation. And that helps me reset my morning. I reset it, or now I've learned to do it in the middle of the day. If you know, I let the technology get me too addicted to it, or I spoke bad language or in a bad tone or something. I'm like, all right, let me go reset myself.
Right.
And when I do that, I'm really good. I have to realize to do it. That's there's always a hard part of it.
And that's the timing is a hard part of life in every aspect of it. Timing is a hard part. All right, before we get out of here, I definitely we got to talk about your business. So tell me, how did you get started? What made you want to go down this path?
I've always liked to be a little different. Uh, and I'm going to tell the story as fast as I can because that's not the full purpose of the podcast. I got into real estate because I was a really bad tenant. Like we had spaghetti wrestling parties, mud wrestling parties, all inside of the house, pudding wrestling, parked a motorcycle in the house. Like you don't rent to 20-year-old Adrian.
Pudding wrestling?
Oh yeah, man, it was fun. You buy a bunch of pudding and you put in a pool, a little kids pool, and you all get together and you wrestle and you throw it everywhere, and then you don't clean it up because you don't think it's a big deal, and then it molds over. And Uh,
And I love that.
so
That's
again, you don't rent to 20-year-old Adrian or his friends. Now, then I solved the problem by buying the house. Well, then I learned why we sucked as the tenants, and I had to start laying some rules down. It's a fun story now. And so I'll just keep fast forwarding a long ways. I eventually found the niche of mobile homes because I lost a house to a short sale and all this other stuff that happened. I found the niche of mobile homes, and mobile homes served my goals of life of cash flow. This doesn't make, for anyone that's watching, the mobile home behind it comes with most of its siding. It doesn't make for a great Instagram photo that people like to put the Lamborghini and all of that. Lamborghini costs more than this thing. But this provides cash flow that comes in predictable every month, which pays for my life. And I planned that out because that's what I was going after. I didn't need the appreciation, all that. I wanted cash flow to eat every day. I will tell you, through those hard times with the relationship, I remember texting one of my friends. He was actually going through some tough times as well. And I said, I don't understand how people can do this when they don't have some type of income coming in that doesn't force them to go to work every day. So I don't know how I would have done it. If I had to go to a normal 9 to 5 job, man, people that make it through a hardship in a relationship with that, they're strong people. I mean, it was tough without it. I spent hours every day on myself. And anyway, so back to the biz. I mean, that it was a blessing that I didn't know I was planning for, I guess is part of what I'm saying. And having the extra income to just drop what I was doing and fly out and see her when the timing was right.
Right.
So the business today is I buy and rent mobile homes with the dirt. It's a real estate transaction. I buy and rent them. I love it. It's great money for me. I'm providing a service to people that don't always understand they have options to sell their property because there's not a lot of people that buy them.
Okay.
I'm also providing safe housing to people that don't have a lot of income. So we have properties at all different income ranges. Some of them are pretty low income. And so I'm providing housing that's safe for them, not always pretty, but they can't afford pretty yet. Yeah. So it's a stepping stone in their life and setting them up. We talked about that communication, setting them up to actually succeed and live there a long time. And so I love that. And then I started teaching on the topic. I love the topic. What we're talking about today, the communication, I bring that into a lot of my education because I just learned that is the most important part. And I set the education business up to be fun, to spread. I have a few pieces of it there in my vision to spread happiness, joy, and sunshine everywhere I go, to teach from my success and my failures, which is this podcast right now. I mean, this is not the most comfortable topic. I could talk about mobile homes all day, but talking about the religion, I'm trying to get out of being the guy. That like, oh, I don't talk about that. I don't want to be that, but it's still so in me. The society has bred it into me. And then the other is to inspire other people. I'm not that special, except for I just took everything I learned. I'm a student all the time, and I continue doing it. And I go take action on what I learned, and I go back and learn more and correct. And I just trust the process of my friends, coaches, mentors. And so I just want to keep passing that on because if it dies, if I never talked about this today, then I would never have the opportunity to possibly help 1, 2, hopefully more people curve one thing in a relationship to prevent them from all the pain and hardship. Then it's worth it to me.
Right. I get that. I'm big on advice. What would you tell somebody about getting into real estate? Then I got another question about mobile home, but let's go with real estate first.
It's not what the gurus make it out to be. It's all, no money in, it's all overnight success and everything. Does that happen? Yeah, it can happen here and there, but it's the exception to the rule. Do I buy properties with no money? Yes. But that is because I've built up a massive amount of time and skill set to do that. That's not the beginner deal, very typical time. So just get in it, um, make a vision of what you want this business to look like. Not just I want to make a lot of money, but you really want it to look like, and go after that. Find that shiny object time, and then cut it off at some point and try something. Take action on what you're learning. So that was a few different pieces of advice. I didn't stick to just one.
That's all good. Hey, I appreciate you. My question about mobile home is, why do you think mobile homes are looked at? I don't want to say down upon or look.
I'll say it for you, man. Trailer trash.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Why do you think they get that stereotype?
You know, I think because movies have made it funny, and probably more country songs than any other type of music, but they've made it funny and everyone can laugh at it. But if you took the wheels off of it, you wouldn't call the person trailer trash that lived there. If you put them in an apartment, you wouldn't call them trailer trash. You
Yeah.
put them in a wood frame home, you wouldn't call them trailer trash. The same person lives in all of those things. So it's I don't even want to, it's a class of person, and that's a really bad stereotype. They weren't taught differently. So it goes back, same thing, all this communication. We weren't taught all of this from the beginning. And they happen to, be in a lower income bracket, and we're all just a little different. There's no right or wrong. I would say that it doesn't have to be that trailer trash. Um, I actually really relate with a blue collar handyman, handy woman, which some people would maybe call me trailer trash if I lived in a trailer, because I like goats and I like animals outside and rabbits and ferrets and things. I like the country atmosphere. We call people country then,
Mhm.
but so it's got that stereotype. I, also, there's tons of stereotypes out there and they suck. But movies and I think media exaggerate the stereotypes.
Mhm. To say
Like one or two
yeah.
people did it, and there's a little truth to it, because there's a little truth to everything. And then somebody media wise made it to this big thing.
Mm-hmm. That is true. Can you do me a favor? Can you get the shirt one more time so everybody can see it before we get out here?
Yeah, man. So it's my wife buys mobile home. I want to give one more piece here that uh, it's a tug of war for me. I went all in my business, and I became like omnipresent, always wearing this shirt, always marketing, and that really accelerated my business. But there's only so much time. I stayed on that side of it too long, when I should have swung the pendulum back over to relationship a little bit more.
Okay.
And even if I grew, a year slower or 2 years slower, it would have been worth it. Now, I don't regret learning lessons there, but that's probably part of that business advice. Getting into one of those is, I mean, you can be all in, but if you do it too long, you're sacrificing the relationship side. So just realize you're doing that. And I don't believe in any more in balance as this perfect circle. I believe in more of like averages. I'm still figuring that out for myself. So there's seasons where I'm all in business. I give her that expectation. Hey, for the next 3 weeks, I am jam packed booked.
Right.
If that's going to be a problem, tell me so I can cancel some stuff, or let me not book it. And then I do the exact opposite. I swing back over. We'll go camping. I don't even bring my laptop. I don't bring anything. I tell my team and everyone, hey, you're not going to get a hold of me for a week. So I'm kind of neglecting business a little bit, but finding that how that works for your relationship, I think is very important. And it's a struggle for us entrepreneurs, because we love business. I'm not going to say as much as our spouse. I know people that actually do, but we truly love the business.
Right.
It's not just like a means to the end. Like I love my business.
Okay. Hey, like we talked about earlier, prioritizing. You got to
Yeah.
be able to prioritize your relationships with people because at the end of the day, well, for me, people and relationships with people is what brings me happiness. That's what brings me joy. And I'm glad that y'all relationship worked out. I'm also glad that you are doing your thing in a mobilized home, mobile home situation. Where can people find you? Where can people reach you? I see the website on the side, but just shout out to the people one time.
Yeah, man. So I've got lifestyle-rei.com, and you can go there and find me there. You can sign up for my blog if you want to know more about mobile homes. And there's some myths. We talked about the trailer trash one, other ones like that. I've got a 14 myths debunked PDF. It's free. Just go to lifestyle-rei.com/Mr. Bell. And I do want to say that my blog is not only mobile homes, and it's also not only real estate. I have some mindset and relationship in there. If you're not looking to hear any real estate, don't sign up. But I do mix it in there so
Yeah.
that because I think it's so important, and I really love the topic. I found when I wrote my book, I found I love writing, and why just write and not let anyone ever see it? So now I write, and it's not perfectly edited. I push it out there to where maybe someone enjoys it.
Okay, hey, hopefully maybe before the year's over, we can get you back on. We can talk about mindset because mindset is a key for life. It's just
Yes, sir.
they get in the way. But I appreciate Adrian. I appreciate you taking the time for doing this. 11 a.m. on a Saturday, a lot of people wouldn't do this.
Well, I appreciate you having the show, man. You know, you're the one that's giving the launch pad to get all this information out here. I showed up, talked. You're doing the hard work so that everyone can listen to it. If not, there's not a platform for people to learn from each other. And so, thank you for being here and having
No,
this.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Like I said, hopefully I can get you back on to definitely talk about mindset. But yeah, y'all, hey, another show in the books. It is your boy, Mr. Bell, from Hold Up and Another Thing. Like I always say, presented by Mixed Vibes Media. And we're going to catch y'all on the next time.